Record to the cloud. Okay. Hope everyone had a good New Year's Day yesterday. New Year's Eve, a couple days yesterday. You guys want to close that? I just feel like I'm going to be super loud. I'll probably still be loud even if it's closed, but that's all right. All right. Welcome. Hope you guys had a great holidays. I know some of you guys are still out of town, but we are ready to hit the ground running. So as I've been going through people's 411s this week, I've been hearing a theme of two things that are people's priorities over and over again. One is, it's after the holidays, it's a new year. I need to hit that list of people for me to start calling everyone that said, hey, call me after the holidays, or I want to get going once the new year starts, or just those people that you know have been kind of halfway active throughout the holidays, but you haven't been proactively reaching out. It's, hey, we got to hit that list, right? So that's why we scheduled on Saturday a call time. So Saturday, 11 to 1, we're going to do a call time. So we're going to get together, provide lunch, and we're going to run a spiff. So everyone that sets an appointment for themselves on Saturday is going to get $10 for every appointment that you set. And it'll just be a fun time for us to all just work through that list of people that I just mentioned. Hey, I know we all have a list of, hey, they said call after the holidays. They said call, in the new year, or people I just need to go be proactive with that I haven't been for the past couple of weeks. So we're going to do that on Saturday. I'm going to talk with Nick about trying to set something up in Phoenix for you guys too, so you guys have the same thing going on. But buy lunch, run a spiff, and get stuff going. So that's what we'll do on Saturday. But the other thing I heard from a lot of people is just generally getting organized. Just, all right, we're starting the new year. I want to just kind of get everything set, get my CRM set, get my rhythms and everything good to go so that I can be most effective in the new year. And so what I thought was the biggest opportunity to talk about today is two things. One, just your schedule, your weekly schedule. What do I think is a great example of a weekly schedule for you guys to have the most success possible? And then also want to spend a little bit of time talking through goals. Just making sure you guys understand your goals for the year and we're on the same page there. So what I want to talk about first is this idea of your weekly schedule, your weekly rhythms, or maybe the idea of time blocking, whatever it is. Up to this point, you guys have heard us say, hey, we're going towards time blocking, and you need to have this, and you need to have that, and you need to call these people this often. So what I wanted to do is build a template schedule, just build a proposal of a weekly schedule for you guys. And then I wanted to walk through that with you guys so you guys could see what I think is just kind of like a perfect week in the life of a Relevate agent. And then you guys have freedom to mess with this. You guys have freedom to change this and make this that makes a little bit more sense to you. But if you're like me and you don't want to reinvent the wheel and prefer to just be told what to do and just go do it, then you guys could just adopt this as your schedule, create this in Google Calendar, and then just go, basically. So I printed off pages for the people that are here, but I'm going to pull up on the screen a version of this for the people that are not here. So let me, let me hit share, and I'm going to share. Okay. Can people see my my Google Calendar here that are on the Zoom? Okay, great. So the yellow time blocks on here might make this a little overwhelming, so just ignore those for the time being. So what I did here is I went and I tried to create a calendar of that incorporates everything you need to do in terms of a Relevate agent. So so let's start with the green. The green call blocks here are the green time blocks or blocks you see in the calendar are call blocks. So what I did is I put these call blocks at just proposed times that I think would be good times for you to check in. So you guys see on Mondays at 9 to 10, I have a pending call block. That's my suggestion of when you guys should touch base with everyone that's under contract. Monday morning, it's a good time to touch base. It doesn't have to be a call. It could be an email, it could be a text, or maybe you don't need to do anything because you guys just checked in with them. But I think Monday mornings at 9, good time for you guys to just kind of think through, hey, what do you need to touch base on with the people that are under contract? Okay. Then you can see on Tuesdays at 9 a.m., I have one of our new call blocks. So this is just me saying, remember, 3 times a week, we want to hit everyone in new. So I'm suggesting Tuesday morning at 9, right before this meeting, would be a great time for you guys to just pull up in Boomtown. Everyone that's in new status, call through those people, try to get a hold of them. All right? So just looking at the green time blocks right now. On Wednesdays, I did a little bit of a longer call block. And what I'm suggesting is, you guys can mess with this a little bit, but what I'm suggesting is lump your qualifies, nurtures, and hots all into one big call block. Because essentially, this is you guys, and I would recommend you call through them one at a time because they're slightly different. But this is you guys essentially looking at everyone that's kind of in your active pipeline. You've had a conversation with, it looks like they're going to transact in the next 6 months, and you're either trying to set an appointment with them or you've gone on an appointment and you're trying to push them along the stage of the process. So I left 3 hours for it. I doubt it takes you 3 hours, depending on how big your pipeline is. But all I'm saying is, one time a week, I want you guys to sit down and I want you guys to just think about everyone that's actively in your pipeline. So you're going to start, I would say start with your qualifies. Everyone in qualify, you're just going to go through and try to figure out what can I do to try to get them in person, because those are the people you haven't done an appointment with yet. So every single person maybe you're manually sending them a property that you think would be a good thing for them to go look at in person. Maybe you're just, again, trying to push them towards a coffee appointment. Whatever it is, every week you're thinking about every single one of those people and doing something to try to get them in person. With your nurtures, those are people that you've already done an appointment with, so most likely you're just trying to get them back out at showings. Or if they're, the nurtures are really going to be those people that you've done an appointment, but you haven't really got them consistently looking at properties yet. So probably most every week, you're just trying to find a property and trying to see if they want to go look at it in person. And then your hots, I have the hots on here. You probably will not need to reach out to your hots because your hots are people you're already showing properties to every single week. So, but the reason you have a time to look at your hots every single week is just in case you're like, oh crap, we haven't looked at properties in 2 weeks. I should probably reach out to them. Because a lot of times, if you're like me, your rhythm with hots tend to be, they just let me know they want to see a property, and then I just go show them the property. But sometimes that breaks down, and you're like, oh crap, it's been 2 weeks, and I haven't done that. So I would say Wednesdays, 9 to 12, I would recommend your work through your qualifies, your nurtures, and your hots. And then you can see the remaining 2 call blocks I have, I wanted to do at a non-traditional time, because meaning a non-like morning time, because we've seen a lot of success in switching that up. So I recommend that at least one evening you do a new call block. And so I put that on Thursday evenings from 5 to 6. And you guys can mix that up and say, hey, I like Wednesday evenings for that better, so I'll switch my Wednesday morning call block to Thursday morning, whatever. Or maybe you want to knock them both out in the same day. But I did new. And then you can see that I lumped in watches, because watches you're going to call once a week. So what I would recommend is you just choose one of your new call blocks and throw the watches in there.
Once every other week, right?
Yeah. Once every other week. Once every other week. If you call them every week, not the end of the world. But ideally, it's once every other week. So you guys can look at this and just know every other week you can call the watches. You don't have to call the watches every single week. But what I think the most effective and easiest way to do that is just throw those watches into one of your new call blocks. Why? Because watches are the same thing as a new. You haven't got a hold of them. You're just trying to get a hold of them. So just lump them in there with a new so you don't have a whole nother call block one time a week. And then I would recommend one of your new call blocks be Saturday. Ideally, Saturday from like 11 to 12 or 10 to 11. That's when Jay's getting like his 20% response rate on leads. So I'd recommend it be Saturday morning if you guys can. He's pretty, I feel like it's fairly effective Saturday afternoon as well. So you guys could do Saturday afternoon if you wanted to. But this is just the thing I suggest the most in terms of the most effectiveness. So those are when your call blocks would be. Again, I don't necessarily care if it's these exact times, but this is just an example of what it looks like laid out for you. So what I would do is I would start with this as a template and then move stuff around if you need to move stuff around. But start with this as a template and go, all right, I don't want pending call block there. I want it to be Tuesday. So then move it to Tuesday. And then just start moving stuff around. But keep those blocks on there because they should all be on there. The next thing I want to show you is on Friday, that big red block, it says weekly Boomtown cleanup. I would recommend Friday morning would be a great morning to spend an hour or 2 hours. I tried to overestimate the time it would take on these things, but an hour to 2 hours doing your weekly Boomtown cleanup. Again, that's outlined in the best practice for new process in the agent manual. But essentially, you're checking. We're going to give you various searches that you can run in that time. But essentially, what you're doing is you're checking to make sure everyone's on a drip that should be on a drip. People are in the correct statuses. You're not falling through the cracks. Those types of things. That's what, and that's a good time for you to go, oh crap, here's 10 people I should transfer to Jay, and I'll transfer those off to the ISA, right? So you're doing that every week. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is the small red time blocks I have every weekday morning. That is part of your daily process, is to call through all of your nows. You have now activity, go call through those nows. If you have messages, someone is texting you or emailing you, then respond to those freaking messages. And then if you set custom to-dos for yourself, like, hey, this person said give them a call in 2 weeks, so I set a custom to-do for myself to call them in 2 weeks, I would recommend you have a quick 30 minutes every weekday morning where you just start your day with that. Get into Boomtown, just start with the nows, the messages, the to-dos. Clean those out because they shouldn't be too much, and then you can go about the rest of your day. Okay? Questions about what I've said so far in terms of the call blocks or the Boomtown cleanup and the Boomtown now messages? Does that make sense?
Could you email us the template that you're showing?
Yep, I will. Yep. I actually have a Word doc that I'll send you guys. And then there's probably some fancy way for you guys to copy the Google Calendar that I just created. So Andrew will let me know if that's possible.
I'll share that link on Slack right now.
Okay, great. I actually created this within a new Google Calendar template called Agent Time Block Template. So you guys can actually go look at this in Google Calendar. And there's probably a way for you guys to just add this calendar to your calendar so that the time blocks just automatically pop up for you. So, so Andrew will add that to you so that you guys could just enable this as part of your calendar if you guys want to, and you guys can move those around. So yeah, any other question about those call blocks that I talked about, or the Boomtown stuff? 3 other things I'll call your attention to real quickly. The blue is just the relevant meetings throughout the week. So obviously I would recommend that you guys have that on your calendar and you protect those times. Show up at the production meeting, the training, and then whenever your 411 is, you want to have that in there as well. The purple block is just what I put as a random project time. So what I find is that maybe not every week, but occasionally you guys have just one-off projects you guys need to work on, like the sphere scrub list, or being proactive in adding more people to your sphere, or maybe there's thank you notes you're trying to put out to people. Whatever it is, this is like a Thursday afternoon. I just put a chunk there to go. This is my time throughout the week that I know I can get some of that stuff done. And I don't have to be stressing about it every day. I can just put it there. Okay? So that's what I put that there. The last thing you're going to see on my schedule is appointment blocks. So I'm going to let you know, you guys don't have to do it this way. You guys could just leave your calendar blank for the times when appointments can happen. I know for some of you, it might be helpful for you to think through when are the good times throughout the week when I could go on appointments, and just block those out in your calendar. The reality is you're not going to have appointments fill those times. And so, you may go in and delete those blocks, or you may, you want to figure out how you want to work in those times. And some of you guys may have a lot less appointment blocks than I do. Maybe you just decide, listen, I want to really try to limit when I can go on appointments. So I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons, and Saturday mornings or something. And you put those blocks on there. It's totally okay if you guys just decide, instead of the yellow, I'm just going to leave anywhere blank on my calendar is potential appointments, and I'll let that fill in. But the reason that I put this yellow on here for you guys is mainly for you guys to understand that you guys can control when appointments happen. You guys can control the fact that, listen, I prefer not to go on, for me, I prefer not to go on appointments weekday mornings, because that's when I want to be in the office and around other agents. So I'm going to do my best to protect those call blocks and all those other blocks I have in there. And I'm going to try to put my appointments in the afternoons or on the weekends. I also try to not do any appointments Sunday afternoon. because I have church Sunday afternoon, try to protect that for family. So I would say, the point of putting the yellow blocks on here is for you guys to think through, when would you prefer appointments be throughout the week, and when would you prefer they not happen, and just try to protect that. And you guys have control over that. And to a certain extent, it's sales, and so someone may just need to get out and go see a property tomorrow. But the rule of a schedule like this is that the beautiful thing about it is you set it to repeating in your calendar so that every week your calendar is set. And then the rule of that is, if you erase, you must replace. So if something pops up on Thursday and you just cannot do your Boomtown time, or something pops up on Wednesday morning and you can't do your qualified nurture hot call block, move it to a different day. If you're going to erase it, that's fine. You just have to replace it. So maybe you go, listen, I don't have any project this week, so I'm going to move that call block to Thursday afternoon and delete my project time, right? So this doesn't have to be complicated. I'm not trying to tell you guys all have to use this exactly as how I'm using it. But what I want you guys to do is look at this sample calendar to hopefully make it easier for you guys to understand what the weekly expectations are of a successful agent at Relevant. And one of the beautiful things I was thinking about in this new system is I was kind of looking at the calendar and I was like, oh crap, I didn't really put in like lead gen time. When do I put in lead gen time? And I was like, oh wait, this is it. This is what you guys do. There's nothing outside of this. If you guys show up to the sphere times and the sphere call nights and the sphere events that we schedule, and you do this, you have no other jobs as an agent on Relevant besides negotiating contracts and those kind of reactive things that pop up. But you're going to fill those things into the appointment blocks that don't happen, right? You're going to fill the gap. You guys are going to be reactive and schedule your inspections and do your negotiations and those things. But in terms of proactive action, everything's on here. It's the green and the red. If you guys do those things, then you guys will be able to kill it. You guys could make this easier for yourselves as well. If you guys are like, listen, I'm not going to be able to find 5 separate times to make calls throughout the week. And so if that's the case, okay, great. Like, then do your new call block, like have 3 separate times. Combine a pending and a new call block. Combine the qualified nurture hot and a new call block. Whatever. I still recommend you think about the people in different segments because it's going to make it easier. So like call the news, then call the qualified, then call the nurtures. But if you're just like, listen, it's not realistic for me to find 5 times in my week to do call blocks, then find 3 times in your week to do call blocks. But just make sure that you're finding time in your week to touch all these people. And what I'm trying to make sure you guys understand is I care less about the call blocks, the idea of like time blocking. I care way more about the fact that every single week your new leads are getting called. And every single week your active pipeline is getting called, right? And I think most of you guys are good about doing that. And so that's all we're doing is just showing you a way to organize that, to make that easier for yourselves. What questions do you guys have about this calendar that I created? Questions or suggestions or thoughts or anything like that on this? Is this helpful for you guys?
I think it's helpful because I know you had mentioned like that we needed to do it, but actually showing us how to implement it is what will make us more successful. So I appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't see first or second lunch.
First or second lunch? First lunch, second
Just
lunch.
kidding.
Snacky time?
Snacky time. Yeah. To your point, Bridget, I just heard a lot of people like asking me, okay, remind me again, how many of this and how many of that? And so even though we have that written down in the best practice sheet, I think it's just easier for me to like see it on a calendar and just like know this is the way to do it. Yep. Sarah says helpful. So that's good. As you've been doing time blocking, Garrett, you look at this and say, I would maybe change this, or I think this may not be realistic for me in my schedule, or any thoughts since you've been in this?
Yeah, I agree on the new call block on the weekends is really important. And then I also have a late Thursday afternoon one for new. I think those 2 are really good. Obviously you would add your 411 in here, so that could be blue if you were following that. I would add both the 411 and then like a 30-minute. So if your 411 is Monday or Tuesday add that. And then on Friday, add a 411 planning time or 411 update time, whatever you want to call it, but like a 30-minute to get the most value out of your 411 meeting. That way you've given it pre-thought, you can get the most value out of it.
That's good.
Yeah, so those things I would add, and then just would echo.
Yeah, you could even do that in your boomtown cleanup time.
Yep, you can do it at the end of that. I thought that too.
Just
You
like,
can do it at the end of
alright,
boomtown
this is what's
cleanup
happened
time.
this week.
Mhm.
This is what needs to happen next week. Tyler, make this happen next week.
Yep. Yep, and I think because we're simplifying really what 411s represent for agents, it's not like what new lead gen thing do I need to do next week, but really it's just your 411 time for you to proactively look at it is just a chance for you to look at it and go, okay, what were my goals again?
Yeah.
And how am I doing with my goals? And just keep moving.
That's why if you're doing it every week, it could be 15 minutes some week. Just it's a pretty quick
Mhm.
check-in, and then other weeks you might need to tweak.
That's good.
I like that. Just the memory of if you erase, you must replace.
Yeah.
Because I've been time blocking for a long time, but I'm not really good at that piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just add.
And I think like that's the biggest risk of moving towards time blocking versus to-dos is to-dos, the thing just sits there until you check it out. And so if you skip it today, it'll pop up again tomorrow, it'll still be there on Wednesday. With the time blocks, if you just go past it and don't do it, it's in the past. And so you really have to be proactive about spending some time, maybe not just looking at your, not just looking at your 401, but looking at this calendar and just making sure, hey, next week, let me just get ahead of it. Am I going to be able to hold all these call blocks, or do I need to mix some things around? So, and just for you guys to know, like when I set this up in my Google Calendar, I just set repeat every week. And so then every week, like I can show you if I go to the next week, I guess the appointment blocks are not there for some reason.
Oh, I changed. I was going to mention that.
Oh, okay. So this, I think this is probably,
Andrew.
this is the simpler version that probably
Yeah.
makes sense for you guys. Instead of blocking out all the appointments, it's just the appointment times are blank. But this is like what will repeat every single week. So I'll wake up every week and know I'm busy from 8:30 to 10, almost every day. And I'll just let you guys know, like, I just want to reiterate again, it is possible to protect these times. Like, I think a lot of times we kind of take a fear-based mindset of if I didn't go do the showing or the inspection or the closing right when the client needs it, then something's going to happen or it's going to mess it up. I've been going on about 2 years of essentially scheduling shit whenever I want the shit to be scheduled. And it for 90% of the time, it works. And 10% of the time, it doesn't. And I acknowledge that. But 90% of the time, it works. And you can really control it and just say, listen, I'm busy 8:30 to 10, but I'm available at 10:30. Could you guys do that, right? And just literally tell a client that and protect those call blocks, protect that boomtown time. That way, every single day, you guys are waking up with something proactive in your business, and then you can just be reactive and go on appointments and do your negotiations, everything after that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Can I add a thought?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry for doing that, Tyler.
That's great.
I did. I changed that calendar to show, from 8:30 to noon is when all those blocks are, except the appointment blocks and then the project time. And so 2 big principles around time blocking, we won't camp on them too long, but the one is you just get in this mindset, like if you do the same thing at the same time every week, you get in the mindset where it makes it a ton easier. You get into rhythms. You think about it like when you wake up in the morning, you probably make a cup of coffee first, or do you brush your teeth and then make a cup of coffee, brush your teeth, whatever, take a shower, like whatever your routine is, you probably do about the same thing every day. And so the idea behind this is from 8:30 to noon, do the same kind of stuff every week. And that is most of your job. And so it should get easier and easier. Time blocking, I think Tyler hit the nail on the head. Like, I think a lot of people, it can be confusing or it can be loaded. Like somebody says you should be time blocking. You may never do it because you're just like, I don't know what that means. And so like we can all just kind of forget anything we've heard or preconceived notions or whatever. It doesn't need to be stressful. It really is just this idea that Tyler's sharing, that the key 7 things I need to do every week, let's just tend to do them in the same time every week. And if I don't do the same time, that's fine. But if I erase, I must replace. And if you follow that, we should be getting our 20% done, because then the afternoon is free for your 80% activities. These things that like, yeah, I should get some of this stuff done, but if I don't get it done this week, it's okay. You know, doing that thank you note, like that might be important, but it's not as important as your Boomtown Nows. And so, you know, put all that 20% stuff in the first half of the day, so that in general, the second half of the day can be responsive. It can be messy. You can go get your hair cut, and it's not a huge deal because there's nothing key you're missing out on.
Beautiful. Yeah, any other questions on that? I'll make sure to email this Word document version as well. And then Andrew's emailing a link to the actual Google Calendar if you prefer to look at it that way. So those are different ways to do it. Yeah, any other thoughts or questions on that time blocking before we move on to the next one, goal setting?
I'm good.
Cool.
I actually slacked it in all hands, so it's there now if you want to click into it.
Okay, Slack all hands is the Google Calendar link, and then I'll email.
Well, the slack is a verb now.
Slack
I
it.
slacked it.
Been a verb.
Slack it.
Just trying to change.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, the next thing I want to show you guys is, the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is just goal planning. And so, you know, as we start the year, I think most of you guys have already established this in terms of our retreat, but just want to make sure, like, as the year turns over, we want to be proactive, make sure we really understand what our goals are, and make sure we have that written down in our 411 so we can be pursuing those goals every single week, every single month. And so what I want to make sure you guys are doing is, first of all, make sure on your yearly section of your 2020 411 tab that you're putting in those yearly goals. How much money did you want to make? How many closings are you going to have? And I think we broke that down to under contracts and appointments as well for the year. So you're going to break that down, and you're going to look at that and write that number down and just say, all right, I'm reminding myself again, this is what I need to hit for the year. Now, after that, what I wanted to show you guys was some data on kind of how things happen throughout the year so that you guys know how to appropriately set your goals. I think we all understand in real estate that real estate is a cyclical business, and so you don't usually do a 12th of your yearly goal every single month. And so I thought it may be helpful for me to show you Relevate's numbers by month, and then that could help you dictate how you fill out your 411s. So I'm going to share this document real quick. Let's see. Share this. Okay. All right. So hopefully you guys can, I'll walk it through for you guys since you guys can't actually see it here in person. But can you guys see this Word document? Hopefully you can. Okay. So what I did here is I went and looked at Relevate's closings for the past 3 years. So 2016, past 4 years, 2016, 17, 18, and 19. I looked at those total number of closings, and then I did some math to figure out of all the closings that have happened in the past 4 years, what percentage of those closings happened in Januaries, right? What percentage of those closings happened in the Februaries of those years? What percentage happened in June and March and all those? So what I did is I ended up getting our percentages of closings month over month. So I can email this out as well, but just to let you guys know, for January, 5.9% of your goal for the year on average closes in January. So if you were trying to close 100 deals in a year, roughly 6 of them would close in January. If you're trying to close 25 deals in a year, then roughly 1.5 of those would close in January. That's what it looks like. 5.9% in January. 4.2% of those happen in February. So February is by far the worst month of the year. The cool thing about it is having a bad January and February doesn't set you back that much. January and February total right around 10% of the year. So even if you have a crappy January and February, if you can overperform your goal by 10% the rest of the year, then you can still hit your goal, right? So something for you to know. But the opposite is also true. If you can kill it in January and February, you really get ahead of the game. So that's what January and February look like. March, 8.3% of the year closes in March. 8.3%. April is 8.1%. And then it starts to tick up. And so then there's a 5-month stretch where every month is over 9%. So starting in May is 9.4% of the year. June is the biggest month of the year at 10.3%. July, 9.6. August is 9.1. September somehow is the second biggest month of the year, which seems a little crazy to me, but it makes sense. 10.1%. And then it starts dropping back down a little bit. 8.3% in October. 8.4% in November. 8.1% in December. So those are the percentages. So what I want to help you guys do is, all right, how are these numbers helpful for me? Well, so first of all, if you guys want to figure out what your closing goal is for the month, take your closing goal for the year and multiply it by that percentage, like what I just did in that example. So if my closing goal is, 25 deals for the year, then I'm going to take 25, I'm going to multiply it by 0.059, which is 5.9%, and that'll give you how many closings you're supposed to have in January, which is 1.475, something like that. Obviously, you can't close 1.475, so I would recommend you just make a decision. Is it 1 or is it 2? Figure out what your goal is. And if you have no closing set for January, then your goal is probably going to be 0, because that's probably how many deals you're going to close. You need to be realistic with your 411. So if you know you're going to close 0 in January, put 0, right? With those numbers, you're going to take those percentages, you can multiply them by each month to know how many closings that should happen in each month. I would recommend you go ahead and just lay that out for the year. So just go in each month and just lay out your closing goal for the year. What's going to happen then, though, is as we close out a month, so as January ends, you and I are going to talk about it, or you're going to do your 411, and we're going to talk through it. We're going to say, did you hit your goal for January? If you did, great. Then nothing really has to change for the future goals. If you didn't hit your goal for January, then we need to take that 1 or that 2 that you were supposed to close in January and add it to some future month. What month do you want to put it on, right? And every month we're going to keep doing that. Keep pushing that. If you have any debt, we're going to keep carrying it over. And I would say if you overhit your goals, we're just going to ignore it and keep your future goals the same. That way we can always overperform. If it gets to some point in the year where it's just clear that you're just way behind, then we're going to have an honest conversation. Is this still your goal? Is it still realistic? And if not, then we talk about that and we change the goal, or we keep pushing forward. So that's what that looks like. Now, to get an understanding of your under contracts, what you're going to do is you're going to look at how many closings you're supposed to have the next month and multiply that by 1.2. That's how many under contracts you're supposed to have this month. Why? Because we have on average about a 20% cancel rate. So I need to put 120% of the deals under contract this month that I want to close next month. Does that make sense? So that's what you're going to do there. And then for your appointments are typically, well, so for under contracts, then I would recommend you go do that for the full year. So if I need to close 2 deals in January, I need to put 2 to 3 deals under contract in December, right? If I need to close 1 deal in February, then I need to average about 1.2 deals under contract in January. I can't put 1.2 deals under contract, so I just need to make a decision. Is it going to be 1? Is it going to be 2? I need to make that decision, right? You're going to fill out all the months of your 411 like that. So you've already filled in the closings. Just go to the month before that closing, multiply that next month by 1.2. Does that make sense? It's a lot of numbers, I know, but hopefully the math I'm saying makes sense. The last thing you need to figure out is your appointments. And this one is probably the one that matters the most because it's the one that you can most directly affect. So appointments are typically 90 days from appointment to closing. That tends to be our average. Some of you do have averages of 60 days. If you go look at all the agent numbers, some of you, your average is 60 days. So I'm all right if you guys just decide a number there, knowing your number, and figure out what that is. But anywhere from 60 to 90 days is how long it takes an appointment to close. And on average, our appointment to close percentage is 3 to 1. So, it's usually 4 to 1 for leads, but it's 2 to 1 or better for sphere. So overall, your appointment to close is going to be about 3 to 1. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at your closing goal 2 or 3 months out, multiply that by 3, and that's how many appointments you need to go on this month. So if I'm going to use the 90-day number, then I need to go look at how many closings am I supposed to have in April. I need to multiply that number by 3, and that's how many appointments I need to go on this month to make sure I have the closings I need in April. If you're 60 days out, then you're going to look at how many closings you need in March. You're going to multiply that by 3, and that's how many appointments you need in January. As we start to do this math, you'll start to understand why we tried to do our retreat as early as possible and why we started talking about 2020 in October and November. Because your closings for January and February are pretty much already affected by appointments you've already been on. But good news, it's only 10% of your year. So if you had a crappy Q4 last year in terms of appointments, let's start focusing on March, April, May right now. Okay? If you had a great Q4 in terms of appointments, good for you. You're ahead of the game. And business as usual, though, keep looking at March, April, May. Figure out how many appointments you need to be going on now so that you're not building a deficit for yourself. Okay? Now, Relevate's commitment to helping you with your guys' appointment goal is sending Jay a bunch of freaking leads. So we're more than doubling the leads that Jay is going to handle every single month starting this month. And so based on the leads that we're buying, everyone should get somewhere between 2 to 4 appointments a month from the leads we're already buying. So like I said on Tuesday, we have already bought enough leads to outperform what we promised you at the retreat. And that's just the starting point for the year. We want that to grow from there. We're over 1,000 leads a month that we buy starting this month, which is a lot of leads. And we hope to be over 2,000 leads by the end of the year. So that's our commitment to you. But what I would do if I was you guys, in terms of just being conservative, is I would go look at that document we put together. How many appointments per month did we say we were going to give you? Just bank on that. Just be conservative. Now, the rest of those appointments, you guys are supposed to source, right? Either from the Sphere campaign we're running, or from Veterans United referral, or from the Boomtown leads you're working. So then make sure the best thing you can do is just tracking and measuring what you're supposed to be hitting. So just make sure you know what that goal is. Like the first step is simply just knowing that goal. It's not, in my opinion, it's not like a manifesting that it happens by just simply saying it, but there is science to simply tracking something helps you improve that thing. And so simply tracking your appointments and how many appointments you're supposed to have is going to, simply being aware of that every single week in your 4-in-1 should help you generate more appointments for yourself. Kind of just, especially as salespeople, it puts that pressure on ourselves. I need that extra appointment. Where's it going to come from? Right? So that's what I want us to wrap our brains around today is the time blocking schedule. What does my week-to-week need to look like? And then on top of that, what is my appointment under contract closing goal every single month? But more specifically, what is that for this month so that I know what I need to do? So if you guys accomplish nothing else, if you got nothing else from this training, what you should get is how many appointments you need to go on this month and how many of those you're responsible for, and how many call blocks you're supposed to have every week and when you think you're going to put those. That should be the fruit of this training. Okay? Now, given all that, what questions do you guys have? Anything else, like questions, concerns, anything else you guys want to chat about in terms of just getting organized and making sure you guys know and have what you need to accomplish what you need to accomplish? Anything else out there?
That's helpful. Thank you.
Simple enough?
Simple as mud.
Simple as mud. Trying to think, anything else we need to cover on that stuff? Does that make sense? Okay, so back to this time blocking thing. Just a couple quick notes. A couple ways you guys can do this. You guys can just take this, print it off, hang it up on top of your desk, and just hold yourself accountable that way, right? You guys are a paper calendar person. Take this, fill in your paper calendar manually every week, write in these time blocks. If you're a digital calendar person like me, which I recommend, then there's two ways you can go about doing it. You can copy this into your digital calendar, or if you use Google Calendar, go to the link that Andrew shared. You're going to be able to add that as one of your calendars in your Google Calendar. So instead of having to add all these time blocks to your calendar, you can just check the box next to this calendar to show up on your calendar. So in the same way that Relevate All Hands is a separate calendar that you can have, that you just check the box and it shows up on your calendar, Agent Time Block could just be a separate calendar that you just check and it just shows up in your calendar. That way you don't have to add any time blocks. You could just do this exactly as it is. If you plan to mess with these or make them different, then don't edit the Agent Time Block calendar. Add them to your own calendar, because if you edit the Agent Time Block calendar, it's going to reflect on everyone else's calendar. Okay? So, and some people will kill you if you mess with their calendar. So, if you're going to use this, if you're going to use this as is, it's as simple as clicking on that link in the Slack All Hands. Make sure you have the checkbox next to that calendar, your Google Calendar, and you're set. Your calendar is set.
What if we use Outlook?
If you use Outlook, then I can't help you. I can't help you.
All hope is lost.
All hope is lost if you use Outlook.
No.
I was looking, just to tell you the story, knowing that he uses Outlook, I was looking for a MacBook charger this morning, but I didn't even ask Thomas because I just assumed he had some like weird, some weird laptop with his Outlook, but.
And next time, I'm not giving you my charger.
He has a freaking typewriter.
JP's asking if you still use Hotmail, or
I saw that.
he's using Juno, Juno, Juno. You guys remember Juno email, but I think I still have a Juno email. Okay, so
We can talk about it on AOL Instant Message.
yeah, if you send him an AIM instant message, and he'll chat to you about it.
We can talk.
Hey, let me ask, do you guys want me to put the appointment blocks in for every week if you do use the calendar as your template? Or do you like it the trim way?
I think we shouldn't.
I've already added the time blocks based on what you guys showed me. So if you add them, then I'm just gonna have to delete that calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not put the appointment time blocks because
Don't put them back in.
it's so
Sure.
customized by agent. If you guys choose to add appointment time blocks into your personal calendar, like to go on top of it, you can do that. But I wouldn't put them in there just because it's going to be so customized by the person.
Sweet.
Okay.
I'll backdate everything so it starts today, so you could actually use it this week.
Cool. Perfect. I'll send out this calendar paper version and also those numbers I went through. And that's it. Thanks, guys.
Sweet. Peace.
Stop recording.